Before history remembered her as a queen, Esther was simply an ordinary young woman living quietly among a forgotten people. No one could have imagined that her life was about to change the destiny of an empire. The Jewish people had lived far from their homeland for generations. They served foreign kings, spoke different languages, and carried memories of a nation they could never forget. Yet beneath the surface of the greatest empire on earth, ambition, pride, and hidden dangers were quietly shaping events that no one could yet understand. Every decision made inside the royal palace echoed across 127 provinces, reaching millions of lives with a single command. In such a kingdom, even the most powerful nobles believed they controlled the future. But history often turns through the choices of people no one expects. Long before Esther entered the palace, unseen events were already moving every piece into place, preparing for a moment that would change history forever. What appeared to be ordinary coincidence would soon become one of the greatest stories of courage, wisdom, and deliverance ever recorded in Scripture. And it all began with a single young woman whose courage would one day stand between an entire nation and destruction. One woman, one secret, one chance to save an entire nation from annihilation. She hides who she truly is, inside a palace built on power and fear. A single decree is signed, and an entire people is marked for destruction. The man who signed it doesn't know the queen he serves is one of them. To speak the truth could mean death. To stay silent could mean genocide. This is the story of a queen who chose courage over safety, and changed the fate of a nation forever. A young woman stands outside a throne room, knowing that walking in uninvited could cost her life. She has one chance, one choice, and the lives of her entire people rest on what she does next. To understand how she got there, we have to go back to the heart of the ancient world's greatest empire. The Persian Empire, under King Xerxes, stretched across 127 provinces from India to Ethiopia. Its wealth was staggering, its power nearly absolute, and its king ruled with a word, a single command that could not be undone once it left his mouth. It was in this world of splendor and danger that a Jewish girl named Esther would rise from obscurity to the throne itself. But her rise did not begin with triumph. It began with a scandal in the palace and a queen who dared to say no. During a lavish banquet, King Xerxes commanded his queen, Vashti, to appear before his guests. She refused. It was an act of defiance that shook the empire's foundations. Advisors feared that if word spread, wives across the kingdom might refuse to obey their husbands. So Vashti was removed from her position, and the throne stood empty. The king needed a new queen. And across the empire, a search began that would change one young woman's life forever. Her name was Hadassah, known to us as Esther, an orphan raised by her older cousin Mordecai after the death of her parents. She was Jewish, living in a foreign land, among a people who had been exiled generations earlier. When the search for a new queen reached her, Mordecai gave her one crucial instruction: do not reveal that you are Jewish. It was a secret that would follow her into the palace, and one that would one day stand between life and death for an entire nation. Esther found favor unlike any other candidate brought before the king, and in time she was crowned Queen of Persia. But hidden beneath the crown was an identity she could not yet afford to reveal. Not long after, Mordecai discovered something troubling while sitting at the palace gate. Two of the king's officers were plotting to assassinate Xerxes. Mordecai reported it to Esther, who relayed the warning to the king. The plot was foiled. The conspirators were executed, and the event was recorded in the royal chronicles. It seemed like a small, isolated moment, but it was a seed, one that would matter far more than anyone realized later when the story reached its climax. For now, though, a far greater danger was rising in the palace, and his name was Haman. Haman was promoted to the highest position in the king's court, second only to Xerxes himself. Every official was ordered to bow before him. Mordecai refused. It wasn't defiance for its own sake, it was conviction. And that refusal ignited something dangerous in Haman. His pride curdled into rage, and his rage widened into something far more sinister. Haman didn't just want to punish Mordecai. He wanted to destroy Mordecai's entire people. He went to the king with a lie, claiming a certain people scattered throughout the kingdom refused to obey the king's laws and posed a threat to the empire. He never mentioned their name. He didn't need to. He offered a fortune to have them destroyed, and the king, without realizing the horror of what he was authorizing, gave Haman his signet ring. A decree was written, sealed, sent to every province. On a single day, every Jewish man, woman, and child in the empire was to be destroyed. And Esther, the queen herself, did not yet know that the decree marked her own people, marked her own life. When Mordecai learned of the decree, he tore his clothes in anguish and mourned publicly at the palace gate. Word reached Esther and she was terrified and confused. She sent to find out what was wrong. Mordecai sent back a message that would define the rest of her life. Go to the king and beg for the lives of your people. Esther's response revealed the true danger of her position. Anyone who approached the king's inner court without being summoned could be put to death, unless the king extended his golden scepter as a sign of mercy. And she had not been called before him in 30 days. Mordecai's reply became one of the most quoted lines in all of Scripture. Who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? It wasn't just a challenge. It was a reckoning. Esther could stay hidden and safe, or step forward and risk everything. Esther made her choice. She asked Mordecai to gather every Jew in the city to fast for 3 days, and she and her attendants would do the same. Then she would go to the king, breaking the law that could cost her life. Her words carried a quiet, devastating courage. If I perish, I perish. There was no guarantee of mercy, no promise of survival, only a decision to act whatever the cost. On the 3rd day, Esther approached the throne room. The king saw her and extended his golden scepter. She had been spared. But she didn't reveal her request immediately. Instead, she invited the king and Haman to a private banquet. Then, at that very banquet, she invited them to a second one the next day. It was a master class in patience under pressure, and it left Haman more confident and more arrogant than ever. That very night, he even built gallows, intending to have Mordecai executed at dawn. But that same night, something happened in the palace that neither Haman nor Esther could have planned. The king couldn't sleep. He ordered the royal chronicles to be read aloud, and the story of Mordecai's forgotten act, exposing the assassination plot years earlier, was read to him. The king asked what honor Mordecai had received for saving his life. The answer, none. The very next morning, Haman arrived at the palace, intending to ask the king's permission to execute Mordecai. Instead, the king asked him how to honor a man the king wished to reward. Assuming the honor was meant for himself, Haman described the most lavish celebration he could imagine. Then the king gave the order, do all of this for Mordecai. Humiliated, Haman still attended Esther's second banquet. And there the queen finally revealed the truth. She told the king that a decree had been issued to destroy her people, and that she herself was one of them. The king demanded to know who was responsible. Esther pointed to Haman. The very gallows Haman had built for Mordecai became the place of his own downfall. Because the king's original decree could not be revoked, a new law was issued, allowing the Jewish people throughout the empire to defend themselves. Mordecai was elevated to the position Haman once held. And when the appointed day arrived, the people who had been marked for destruction stood, fought, and survived. What had been designed as a day of mourning became a day of celebration. It was remembered forever as Purim, a festival still celebrated by Jewish communities today, generations after the events took place. There is something remarkable about the Book of Esther. It is one of the only books in the Hebrew Bible that never directly mentions God's name. And yet, His presence is felt in every turning point. In a queen's rise to power at just the right moment, in a forgotten act of loyalty recorded in a chronicle, in a sleepless night that changed everything. It's a story that suggests something profound. Even when we cannot see a guiding hand, one may still be at work, in the timing, the coincidences, and the courage of ordinary people willing to act. Esther could have stayed silent. She could have hidden behind her crown and let others take the risk. Instead, she chose to stand, knowing she might fall. And in that choice, an entire people was saved, not by an army, not by a king, but by the courage of one woman who decided that silence was no longer an option. Perhaps that is the question her story leaves each of us to answer for ourselves. When the moment comes, will we speak? Thank you so much for watching this story here on Arkstone Bible. If Esther's courage moved you, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear what part of her story spoke to you most. Don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs a little courage today, and subscribe to Arkstone Bible for more powerful stories from Scripture. Turn on notifications so you never miss a new story. May God bless you, and we'll see you in the next story here on Arkstone Bible.